What's up, guys? We are back for another Dragon Ball Z SH Figuarts review, and it's been a little while since I've done one of these, and I'm really far behind, but I'm jumping forward quite a bit to take a look at one that I've really been wanting, really been anxious to tear into. So today we're taking a look at Super Buu, or Super Evil Buu, or Majin Buu, or whatever you want to call him, the really strong form of Buu. So we've got him here in a massive box. It's hard to describe without getting this figure out just how big this thing is, because it is a lot larger than I had ever expected. So we've got him here in our standard style box. It just happens to be a lot bigger than normal. You can see him there in the window, product shots on the front, we've got product shots on the side, product shots all over the back showing off his accessories. So let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. Alright guys, here he is out of the package. Majin Buu, the big one. Well, not the literal big one, but the big one in terms of power level. This guy looks really cool. I'm very surprised after having him in hand at just how big he is. And I guess I'd forgotten that he is really tall. But this is a really hulking figure, especially for this particular line. So let's jump right into it, see what he can do. There is definitely some stuff to talk about when it comes to articulation with this figure, for the better. It's a lot of positive stuff. So we've got a head that can go that far back, that far down. The neck is of course articulated side to side. He goes back, rotates all the way around. This is a full ball peg system. It's not ball hinges, which I think is a great improvement for this particular figure. Hopefully it's something that happens or is happening with the line. You know, I haven't really jumped into Figuarts for DBZ stuff in a while. It's just been on the back burner for me. So this is the first one I've come across that acts this way. So I think that's really cool. The arms go out. They rotate all the way around. Of course, they do move up and down in that socket, so there's a butterfly joint there. It's not visible on the front, but you can pull them around from the back. You've got a bicep swivel. We've got our elbow there, which goes beyond 90 degrees. You have got a ball peg at the wrist as well, so there's no ball hinge here. He can't really move his hand forward or up, I suppose, but he can do this and then side to side. The gauntlets are just going to get in the way. He's got an upper diaphragm twist. You can move him all the way around, and then he's got, I don't really know, a lower diaphragm twist instead of a waist twist really this time around. So you can do about that far over and then that far backwards and then tilt side to side and rotation. Legs go out and you have whatever that's supposed to be in there. This is really ugly, but it's very functional. They kick forward all the way, back all the way, and then of course you can twist in there at this joint right here. The knees are humongous because he has these big baggy pants on, and they do work really well, surprisingly. You get about 90 degrees. They're just not the most visually appealing, especially from the back. Look at that. It's really ugly. I don't look at my figures from the back very often, so it's not a huge deal, but at the same time, you got to mention it. And then as far as ankles go, we've got ball pegs down here. So rock back and forth, side to side, rocker action, and then you've got your toe hinge as well. So he is pretty well articulated, and just in a general sense, I love the changes with the articulation scheme. I think ball pegs in general are easier to use, for one, in terms of changing parts out for the most part, and then they just work better sometimes than ball hinges. Of course, it's a different range of motion a lot, but I think this guy definitely does move around really nicely. Now, when it comes to the aesthetics on this figure, I think that just in a general sense, they nailed it. Outside of the fact that he has, you know, those wonky knee joints from the backside, the figure itself looks amazing. The head sculpt is just on point. This is the way he comes out of the box. Of course, it's a Figuarts. He's got other methods of being displayed with accessories, but I think this, you know, smirking, menacing head looks really fantastic. His, you know, little head doodad there looks really great. You've got the black spotting on the arms and the shoulders and the chest and the head. Everything's really crisp and clean. He doesn't really have much in the way of shading. I think there's a little bit on the pants. It's hard for me to tell in certain angles. It looks like there's a little bit down here on the kind of frayed and flayed edges that kind of get ruffled out there. But there's none on the body itself, and I think that's fine. This figure in particular is one that I don't necessarily need that. I think that the musculature sculpted in adds enough shading on its own as it plays with the light. And I mean, it's Boo. He's supposed to look kind of like, you know, a bright pink bubblegum for the most part, so I think it works really, really well. The paint on the figure is incredibly well applied. I don't have any issues. There's not a ton either, especially since there's not much shading, but of course we've got the black and we've got the gold on his belt buckle there with the Majin emblem, which is really clean, very nicely done. And then you've got the feet down here with a little bit of sculpted detail for some wrinkles. And then of course you've got his, you know, the little boot covers down here, which have a little bit of paint as well. So I just think he looks fantastic. You know, there's not a ton to really go into detail on because it's a really nice figure with no technical issues for me personally. I just think he looks very well and looks just like he jumped right out of the cartoon, right out of the screen. And that's exactly what we're going for with these figures. And I think they've done a great job to bring this particular version of Boo into life, into plastic. And since I mentioned just how big this figure is, he's certainly not the biggest Dragon Ball Figuarts by any means, but he is quite large. I mean, look how big he is compared to the most recent Goku figure. So this is the Saiyan Raised on Earth version. And you can see that Goku's hair only just comes up towards the top of his arm. So there is a lot of size here. And I mean, it's just a much bigger figure. There is a lot of plastic with this guy, which was a great surprise because I guess, you know, like I said earlier, that I kind of forgot just how tall he was. But it very well comes through when you size him up next to other figures in this line. Now, as far as accessories goes, Boo is pretty stacked. He has, I'd say, no more or less than most Dragon Ball Z Figuarts. There's maybe one kind of omission to this figure that I wish we had, but I think we do get a pretty well-rounded set. So to start with, we have got a good set of hands. So you've got, to begin with, he's got his kind of relaxed palm hands in the box. Then we've got, you know, kind of key blast or open palm spade-fingered hands. You've got this kind of bring it on, kind of crooked finger kind of hand. We've got a set of fists. And then we have got a pointing finger here as well. He does, of course, come with extra heads, so we've got the very angry, screaming head, which I think is fantastic. There is a ton of extra detail in there, not just because the mouth is open so there's more paint, but because you've got like veins and stuff popping out of the sides of the head. And then you've got his very unhappy, you know, just kind of scowling, frowny face head there. And then the last thing he comes with is the extra head for Fat Boo. So you've got his kind of, you know, squinty-eyed, open mouth, smiling head with a blast effect for this Boo. I'm sure you could use it for this one, but it doesn't really work because none of his head dealies point forward. They all go backwards. So you've got this little blast effect on Boo that can shoot forward. I'm not sure I'm going to swap this out because I have my Boo eating the chocolate bar, so I'm not sure I'm ever going to change that just because of how goofy it is. But it's cool to get stuff like this for other figures. The one thing I wish we had for this figure, though, I wish he had a blast effect because he definitely has some, you know, stuff like his human extinction blast and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think we still have a pretty wide array, and you can put Boo into a lot of good poses and fight scenes with other figures with all of the extra hands and faces we've been given. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this figure. It has been a little while since I have reviewed a Dragon Ball Z Figuarts. I've just gotten bogged down with a bunch of other stuff, and when I got this figure, I knew I had to get into it sooner rather than later, just because of what character it is, and frankly, when you see this thing in person, you realize just what you've got in your hands, and he's so much more than I expected him to be. Of course, he doesn't have the one accessory that I want him to have, a blast effect for him, but all the other stuff we get, the sculpt, the size, what paint there is, all of it's really well done, and it's a great package. And I mean, this is for me the essential version of Boo. If we only ever got this one, I would have been happy, just because it's the one I could do the most with in terms of displays. But it's great to get another Boo alongside Fat Boo, and I think Bandai has done a fantastic job with this figure in general. So that's going to do it for this look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations Figuarts Majin Buu figure. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.